Conrad and Eleanor have been seeing each other for 11 months when Eleanor becomes pregnant. It is 1975. They are at Cambridge. Annie says the people at the university clinic are good, Eleanor tells him. It is sunny and they are sitting on a wall outside the pub looking down into the canal.
Good at what?
Advice. Fixing it.
Fixing what? He asked stubbornly, knowing perfectly well that his slowness will only make her more impatient.
Abortion, what do you think? Why are you being so dense?
I don't agree with abortion. I mean, within a relationship, shouldn't it be discussed?
What will we discuss? She says in a reasonable tone. How I'm going to look after it while I do my house job? Or you are working 8 hours a day at the lab? Or what we're going to do for money,
Let's walk along the towpath. If this is the only time it will be discussed, then they will discuss it now, for good or ill. But Eleanor is objecting.
I've got to be back for a histology lecture at 2.
Fine, there's an hour. He stands aside to let her go down the steps to the path. It is too narrow to walk side by side.
So, what do you think I should do? Give birth and have it adopted?
Of course not.
What then?
He feels a sudden spacey unbalancedness, as if he was starting across a tightrope. Head up, 1 foot in front of the other. Don't think of the drop. We could get married.
Married?
Yes.
She keeps on walking in front of him. He can't see her face. The silence extends. She turns. You really want to get married?
The spark of anger he feels is a relief. Yes. Is that so strange? We're going out together, you're expecting my child. I want us to get married.
But it never entered my head. She begins to walk on. We're too young. I mean, we'll both probably meet other people we like.
He knows she will.
And in terms of our careers, the timing's terrible.
He has a vision of 2 kids on a seesaw, one clinging on fearfully, and the other, at the extreme end, bumping and jolting up and down. He forces himself to speak lightly. You just had a proposal of marriage.
My third. She turns and smiles at him, then leans in and touches her lips to his. I'm honoured. I'm going to histology now, but I'll think about it.
He wonders who the other 2 are. Philip Marlin would be one, but he doesn't know the other. Fine. I'll see you tonight.
When they meet after dinner, Eleanor has already called at the counselling centre. I was cycling past at 5 and they were still open.
And?
If I said I didn't know who the father was, it would be simple.
He can't think of a reply.
You would never have considered marrying me if this hadn't happened.
She's right. Why is he thinking of it now? He hates her. Let her do what she wants. With every word he says to her, he is exposing himself further. Yes, I would.
She sighs theatrically and folds her arms. Oh, yeah.
Look, it's simple. You're pregnant, let's get married. He feels his hot blush rising. I want us to make a commitment. I want it to be permanent. It's not cool, it's not what any of our friends are doing, but you being pregnant gives us the excuse.
The tiny silence before her reply is encouraging. You were waiting for this to happen?
Of course not. You're on the pill. But now it has happened, somehow, I can see it's what I want.
What about me?
I don't know. OK, well, when, you can tell me, he says.
After a moment, she bursts out laughing. Thanks. What if I never know?
Her laughter has broken their immobility. It is possible to reach for her and pull her into a hug. Their bodies are warm together. You haven't got that luxury. You've got... What's the cut-off point? 14 weeks?
She shakes her head. If I go in next week, they can do suction. I'd be in and out within an hour.
Don't do it. He kisses her. He can feel the power. It has transferred from her to him. For the first time, Con has the power.
Knowing it makes it happen. She says yes, as he knows she will. You can't make happen what you want to happen, but when you shift from wanting it to knowing it, it happens.
It comes to you, whatever you desire, and offers itself up.
Eleanor is late setting off for home on Monday, the 10th of February 2003. She has had to hang on at work for the phone call from the symposium organisers, who seem to have forgotten the time difference between Chicago and the UK. It is 9 by the time she gets home, but there are no lights on in the house. Good. Maybe his flight is delayed. Of course, weather. There are no messages on the answer phone. For an hour, she works rapidly, drawing curtains, turning up the heating, defrosting soup and bread, unpacking her bag, making the house feel lived in again. No one would guess she has spent a whole luxurious weekend with Louis. She checks arrivals. Flights from Germany all seem to be on time. By 10:15, it is too late to wait any longer. She eats half the soup and goes to check her email. Maybe she got the day wrong. There are quite a few emails, but none from Conrad. She has another whiskey and listens to the news, no plane crashes, and goes to bed. It's fine. It's as if she's been there all weekend. The next morning, she has a quick scout about to see if he has left his flight times anywhere, on his desk, or the cork board in the kitchen. She always leaves hers. Before she heads for work, she scrawls him a note. "Thought you'd be back last night? Give me a ring when you get in." When she gets home that night, the note is where she left it. She taps in his mobile number and predictably it goes straight to answer phone. He never switches it on. It's pointless him having a mobile. She sends a brief text. "Where are you?" Their daughter, Cara, is the most likely person to know. Elle rings her the next morning at 7:30. "Mum, do you know what time it is?" "Sorry, do you know when your father's coming back?" "I didn't know he was away." "He went to that conference in Munich." "Mum, I don't know. Oh, I haven't spoken to him." That night, there's a message on the answer phone. Tina, Con's research student. "Hi, Con, are you okay? Sorry to bother you at home, but you said you'd go through my results today. Do you think you'll be back tomorrow?" So, he was expected back at work. She should call George and Anita. They probably went to the conference with him. She turns to their number in the address book, then hesitates. It's likely that one of the kids at least knows where he is. She phones the other 3 in turn. Paul doesn't answer. She leaves a message. Megan is going home from a rehearsal and thought he was back on Monday. Daniel is in his room with a very loud TV on, and all he knows is Dad was going somewhere last week. She turns again to George and Anita's number. It is 10 p.m. If she doesn't ring now, it will get too late. As she starts to dial, Louis texts her. "Can talk at 10:30? Anita?" "Hello, Eleanor here. Yes, thanks, fine. And you?" "Good. I was ringing about the conference last weekend." Yes. Did you by any chance take the same flight home as Con?" "No, I didn't know when his flight was. George and I got a lunchtime flight back on Sunday. Why? Is there anything—" "He's almost certainly stopped off with friends, and it slipped my mind. That's why I'm asking." "Oh, well, I don't think I can shed any light. Let me ask George." Never mind. Thanks awfully, Anita. I'm sorry to have bothered you. There's nothing to worry about, I'm quite sure. Love to George. Bye now." What has he done, the idiot? She heads back to the kitchen, pacing the length of the room. He's missed his flight. That's the most likely. And can't cope, sitting in a heap somewhere like a sulky child. He'll need rescuing. He was barely functioning at home. She feels a familiar sinking of the heart. Is this how Con will get old? Depressed, dysfunctional? Why, oh, why didn't she leave him while the going was good? A little flare of excitement. What if something really has happened to him and he doesn't come back? Oh, for shame. Have you no heart? Elle suddenly remembers it's Con who she loves. She slumps against the kitchen counter. What if he's with someone else? Oh, who would want him? Bitch! Because he's dumb and sullen with you doesn't mean he can't be charm itself to another woman. So he's with someone else. The punch lands. She crouches back against the cupboard, holding herself together. Con, alive and happy and funny and competent, and not with her. The phone rings. Paul got her message. "Mum, when did you last speak to him?" "Last week sometime. Elle can't remember. You haven't spoken to him since he went? No. Or texted? No. I'm coming over. He arrives soon after, smelling of cold and alcohol. How long are you going to leave it? Till what? Till you try and find him. Elle laughs. How can I? The police trace people who are missing, don't they? It would be a waste of police time. You ring the police if a 10-year-old doesn't come home, not an independent adult. Paul stays the night in Dan's old room. As Elle undresses for bed that night, she remembers that she forgot to phone Louis. She is asleep when the phone rings. She leaps up, grabs it. This will be it. But the phone twinkles Cara at her. Her daughter is outside with a suitcase. The door is bolted. Mum, I'm going to Munich. That's silly. That won't. Cara moves along the hall to the kitchen. I've booked it, but I need to borrow some money. Cara, you're in no shape to go herring off. She persists. If it was one of us, he'd already be there. You can't even speak German. I can go to the hotel, the conference centre. They'll speak English. He's there. I can sense it, okay? Elle returns to her room to try and sleep, but realises she won't, and creeps downstairs in search of her glasses. The children are talking in the kitchen. She hears Paul. You know she's having an affair. Louis? Asks Cara. Yeah. But does Dad know? You think he's left her? I have no idea. It doesn't make sense. He could still contact us. Maybe there's something worse. Eleanor wants to move, to go back to bed, but she's frozen to the spot. Like what? She murdered him? Is that what you're saying? It could have been an accident. What if they had a row and things went from bad to worse? I think you're mad. People don't just vanish, Cara. Where do you imagine he is? In the garden? The freezer? Oh, this is stupid. He's in Munich and I'm going there to find him. I can imagine it, persists Paul. Her son's harshness brings stinging tears to her eyes, that he can think so badly of her. What has she done to him? She lies in bed, imagining whatever it is that Paul may imagine. She and Con fight, as usual. He falls, hits his head, no pulse. But what is she supposed to have done with the body? Con is 6'4". Does Paul imagine her sawing his father into chunks on the kitchen floor, then secreting them around the garden? Or dragging his weight into the boot of a car and unloading him at some conveniently isolated landfill site? Or popping him into a sack with stones and dropping him into a river? She is sweating. She opens her eyes. It seems entirely plausible. But I didn't do that, she reminds herself. I didn't do it. It could have happened, but it didn't. There is not much comfort in the thought. She wonders if Conrad too has imagined such a scene. No wonder he has left her. No wonder.
Conrad has not been murdered by Eleanor. He has gone to the conference, slipping into his work persona as comfortably as a man sliding his feet into a well-worn pair of slippers. After the Sunday night dinner, Con walks with a colleague to the tram stop, then turns towards his own hotel, away from the brightly lit thoroughfare. As he moves towards the end of the empty residential street, Conrad hears a lighter step behind him. He glances back. A woman is coming towards him through the shadows. Her. He's running before he knows it. Running for the corner, past the shop front, up the steps into the lobby of his hotel. He slows to a walk and nods to the receptionist as he moves towards the stairs. Then he's running again. Then he's fumbling for his keycard and manages to not quite slam his door, leaning against, breathing hard. How did she know he was here? He moves to the window and looks down. A few cars pass, but no pedestrians. Eventually, he turns from the window and sits on the bed. His whole body feels fragile as an egg. He waits, listens. Nothing. She knows where he is. He can't go back to the conference tomorrow. He thinks about going home. He thinks about Eleanor. She sometimes accuses him of playing the victim. There is no reply, because he is the victim, or has been, of what Elle has done, and she knows it. He should go to the police. But he doesn't believe they would protect him. Don't play the victim, he tells himself. Don't lie here in the hotel where she knows you are. Give her the slip. He gets up at 6 and moves silently around his room, gathering his things into the case. When he looks out, the street is still. She can't have waited outside all night. It was freezing. He splashes water on his face and cleans his teeth. A taxi takes him past the conference centre. She will be expecting him to be there today. The speed of the taxi through near-empty streets is like flying, winging his way above trouble. What can she do when he is gone? And how will he ever resolve Elle, the children, the house, the work? This unending list of his failures. Of course he must disappear, or the painted smile will be battered right off his face. He pays the driver and hefts his case and runs into the station. He scans for her as he scuttles to the ticket hatch, waits with his head sunk between his shoulders, and pays cash for a ticket to Rome, forces himself not to run to the platform, and moves swiftly to his train. He should get on immediately. A woman is facing his train on the next platform. As he looks, she starts to run up towards the ticket barrier. He dodges into the carriage and peers out, but a train is pulling in on the neighbouring tracks, and his view is obscured. He's lost her. If it's her. It wasn't her. It's nothing, he tells himself furiously. Even if it is her, even if she gets on this train, what? What is the worst she can do? And why wouldn't he welcome it? Why not allow her to vanish him? Her victim. He is in the last carriage. The last carriage is bad, nowhere to run. But he heaves his suitcase on the seat beside him, blocking himself in. The train gathers speed. He allows his burning eyes to close. So, to Rome. He realizes he is in freefall. He is making this journey as a result of a perfect storm of negatives. He is on the run from his wife, but what is he running towards? None of this is new, apart from Maddie, the threat of Maddie. None of the rest is new. And what seems at this precise moment to be the central thing is Eleanor. His marriage, which has already transformed so many times, no one could see it straight. Hasn't he gone from loving her to hating her and back again so many times that the path is worn out? There is no love, there is no hate. All that could conceivably remain might be kindness, a form of respect. But that's gone too, of course. The present does not erase the past. The mantra aligns itself with some rhythmic sound in the train's motion. He can almost empty his head. The present does not erase the past. Kara. No, try not to think of Kara. But why should he not think of Kara? Of Paul, Megan, Kara, Daniel? Why shouldn't a man think of his children, his own flesh and blood? Of Kara. Of Kara's blood. Everything is tarnished now, he thinks. He wonders how other people deal with this. The shame, the shamefulness of the past, the expeditiousness of it, the complacent ignorance in which one lived it. He is ashamed of it all, from start to finish, of his pathetic protective male act, of his stoic refusal to react to injury and insult, of his conviction that he was necessary to the children. No one is indispensable. Elle has always been honestly selfish, which has left him the role of dishonestly selfless, the martyr, the victim. Until, with the stubborn perversity of flowing water, which must find a way through, he has come to find his satisfaction in her cruelty, in self-abasement. He has no desires. He has all but rubbed himself out. No wonder Elle can't stand him. He can't stand himself. Only sit here, passively, awaiting transformation. People around him unscrew bottles of water. From plastic bags they extricate crisps and chocolate. They peel fruit. The smell, when he identifies it, makes sweat prickle in his armpits. Someone is eating an orange. His stomach convulses. Orange. It is the reek of the monkey house, of every monkey house he's known, that sharp, bitter, brassy tang with undertones of piss and shit. It dries his tongue and constricts his throat. He crouches low in his seat, takes little shallow breaths. It is possible to ignore a smell. You get used to it. His limbs ache. He wants to shift position but won't let himself. He sees himself, his posture, his defeated shoulders, his empty hands. A monkey in his lab, crouched at the back of his cage, staring balefully out of its prison. It is doubtful if the monkey would venture out, if you left the cage door open. His back starts to ache and he rises, moves towards the next carriage, away from the smell. He presses close to the window as the train slows its pace. There is a rattle of Italian over the PA system. His brain sifts the words for meaning. Stazione Bologna Centrale. Thank God. Con is on the platform, sucking in lungfuls of cold, wet air, checking the signs for uscita, when he remembers his case. Doors are slamming. He starts back, but it's too late. The train is unstoppable. He checks his pockets, passport, wallet, glasses, phone. Okay. The case is not important. Better without it. Newborn.
Elle catches her alarm on the first beep. She has not really slept, but after a shower she feels clear-headed. The helpless fear of the night has vanished. She clears the kitchen table. Paul has finished her brandy, naturally. She sits, cradling a mug of tea and making a list of people to call. She can't see any point in telling his mother. Con only visits her a few times a year. Anyway, he'll be back. Her youngest, Dan, has been extremely calm over Con's disappearance so far. Is that likely to change? Now he's 17, he's got more control than he had as a raging child. Also, he's good at something, applying his mind to computer programming with excellent results. Elle knows she has always been right about Dan. It is Con who has been wrong, bandying words like autism and Asperger's, looking for woes. Yes, Dan is different. Yes, he's a loner. But there's nothing at all wrong with his brain. He's the brightest of the 4 children, flourishing in his first year at university despite his youth. So far, he has reacted to Con's absence with his usual blankness. She wonders whether Paul has talked to him, wound him up. She must call him. She underlines Dan on her list. Megan, on the other hand, will be easy. Elle imagines her efficient thoughtfulness. She would not be treating her mother as prime suspect. She would probably be coming up with very sensible avenues of search to pursue. But Megan is on stage every night in London this week. She keeps nocturnal hours. Eleanor can't phone her before lunchtime. Abruptly, she refocuses on work and consumes her breakfast rapidly. Conrad's driving glasses are on the table. She stares at the case before checking the contents. If you were leaving for good, you would certainly take your driving glasses. Has he been driving? His car is always in the garage when she gets home, but there's nothing unusual in that because she leaves before he does and gets home after him. But the little heap of keys that used to irritate her on the stand in the hall hasn't been there for a long time. She rises quickly to check. No, not there. Has he even been going to work? It might be better if he hadn't. The work is bad for him, she's sure of that, despite the fact that it was her prompting that led him into it. Oh, it was innocent then, it was hopeful. It was before this awful shutter had come down between them. They had a holiday in Ireland the summer after Dan's first birthday, rented an old farmhouse in West Cork. She can still smell the peaty dampness of the place. There were niggles between them. He was already fretting about Dan, who was late to smile, late to sit up, late to crawl. At work, he was on 3 years' funding looking at the treatment of tumours in rats. It was slow, predictable work. Eleanor believed he was sublimating his own stasis into Dan. They sat outside the farmhouse when the kids were in bed, talking in the long summer evenings. "Tell me something you'd really like," she said to him.
I'd like to never see the inside of that bloody lab again.
It's soul-destroying. Listen, I had an idea. It was just a conversation I barged in on at one lunchtime. They were talking about transplants.
Transplants?
Heart, kidney, lung, whatever. Saul and Brock have got money for a slab of research on monkeys, finding ways to stop rejection of transplants, immunosuppressants.
Elle, there are people who've been working on monkeys for years. Saul and Brock for a start.
Why didn't you give Saul a ring?
The biggest problem the transplant people have is not even rejection, is it?
She'd got him hooked. He was starting to chip at the idea. Shortage of donors.
Exactly. How can they build any kind of success rate? You never know what's coming in, what blood group, age, size.
OK, so? She could already see where he was going.
So, are Saul and Brock actually looking at monkey hearts for humans?
I don't know. If humans reject other human hearts, a monkey heart is even more alien.
Yes, but you could prepare it, breed it specifically for that purpose. You could treat the donor heart with drugs that would make it less antigenic to the new host. They kicked ideas back and forth between them for the rest of the holiday, and optimism reanimated Con.
The sound of Kara in the shower brings Elle back to this kitchen. Kara will not eat anything Elle offers her for breakfast, so it's better not to be in the kitchen when she comes down. Elle takes a new mug of tea and her list into her office. She can polish off some work emails before it's time for Kara to leave.
In Bologna, Con passes little hotels by the station, but feels the need to identify the centre of town. He is wet now, and realises he has no clothes to change into. Night is coming. Get a room. Go shopping. Here is a hotel with a modestly small sign, 2 stars. He is given a key to a room up 3 narrow flights of stairs. A single bed, a narrow wardrobe, a tiny sink, and a red plastic chair. At the corner supermarket, he buys toiletries and an extra-large T-shirt with a yellow smiley face on it, which will serve as a nightshirt. All he must do is go home to his hotel and sleep. Turning a corner, a shadow scurries ahead of him. Quite suddenly he remembers Maddie. Is she here? Has she followed him? Did she see him get out at Bologna? Is she up ahead, lying in wait? Con passes little hotels by the station, but feels the need to identify the centre of the town where the train has deposited him. The drizzle stings his face and transports him effortlessly to a night when, like this, he was soaked. To the farmyard in the rain. The night his father died. Con's father hanged himself from a beam in the barn at the age of 67. Con's mother found him and rang Con at work with the news. He rings Elle to tell her and then drives straight to the farm, arriving as darkness falls. It has started to drizzle. The rain stings his cheeks. He unlatches the barn door, then shoves it open with his foot and waits on the threshold until he can bring himself to raise the torch and direct its beam into the dark interior. The light hits the body, unnaturally large, swaying slightly. Ethan's face made hideous either by the exaggerated light and shadow or by its own interior workings. The kitchen door opens, spilling light across the muddy yard, and his mother appears. "Go back in, Mum. There's nothing for you to do here. Stay in the warm." She hesitates, then slams the door. From somewhere, the dog begins to howl. The tears, when they come, are for the man that Ethan's wife and children did not allow him to be. Con and his sister were not close to him, did not come often, and it seems his mother is glad his father is dead, planning already to sell the farm, get a little house in the village. When Con thinks of his children, who love him, who run squealing to the door to greet him when he comes home, when he thinks of his children who create him daily with their hot, needy love, his heart breaks for his father, who could not be loved. This he remembers in the chill drizzle of Bologna. Shame. Turning a corner, a shadow scurries ahead of him. Quite suddenly he remembers Maddie. Is she here? Has she followed him? Did she see him get out at Bologna? Is she up ahead lying in wait? He turns and hurries on down the main street. He turns and hurries down another street. He's lost. He moves quickly for a while, putting distance between himself and that shadow. The name of the hotel is not springing to mind. He pulls his key from his pocket, but it simply bears the room number 7. There's nothing to do but keep going in the direction he imagines is the right one. Eventually, a sign for the stazione. He has to get all the way there before he can locate the route he took away from it, back to his starting point. Pensione Arditi. He is here. When he locks his door and strips off his wet things, he is shivering uncontrollably, and his feet are yellow and bloodless, like the feet of a drowned man. He curls up on the shelf of her bed and clutches the blankets tight around him. She did not follow him here. There is no reason for her to know where he is.
There is a string of work emailed, many of them expressing sympathy or anxiety over Con. Eleanor's eyes glaze over. She has no idea how to reply. Why can't they just leave her alone? She needs to think about why Con might have left. But you do know, she tells herself. You do know why. It's because of Kara, isn't it? The realization is shocking. It is so close to her. It is painful to force herself to see it. It must be working inside Con like a poison. It is almost certainly the reason he has gone. Sitting rigidly in her computer chair, Elle retraces the memory from the start. Glenn was a visiting research fellow from MIT, cynical and funny and always working late. While Con was giving the kids their tea and bathing them, Elle and Glenn were the last 2 out of the lab one night, and they went for a drink. Glenn was heading back to Chicago at Christmas, back to his girlfriend and his life. That's what made it possible. He complimented Elle on her chestnut-brown eyes. He told her that she was the most intelligent woman he'd ever met, and she jibed at his sexism. Glenn laughed. Okay, since I can't say the right thing, you got a fantastic ass. Come home with me. She didn't go home with Glenn that night, and she didn't think she would at all. She simply hoarded the compliment. But after that, it was impossible not to be conscious of when Glenn was working late, or of which jeans she wore to work, leading them one night to his flat, and to bed, and leading to her cycling home at breakneck speed from the train, swooping around corners and through traffic lights, more shiny and invulnerable than she had ever been. She wasn't in love with Glenn, not at all. She was simply joyous at being desired, high on the excitement. She had to make a conscious effort not to tell Con about it. There was no anxiety, no danger, no subterfuge involved. In 2 months, Glenn would return to the States. And then she got pregnant. It could have been Con. Their contraception certainly wasn't foolproof. But her instincts knew it wasn't. And once she was pregnant, there was nothing that could be done about it without Con knowing. She finished with Glenn, which was sad but not traumatic. She told no one she was pregnant till he'd gone. There must be no danger of Glenn ever knowing. But then, how to tell Con? She did not want to lie to him. She carefully planned a tete-a-tete lunch and asked him to pick her up from work in the car. She was nervous. Con would not see infidelity in the same light as she did. He would be upset. He spoke suddenly in the silence.
I want us to get rid of the au pair.
Elaine? Why? I thought you liked her.
Well, to tell the truth, she makes me uncomfortable. I don't want you to say anything to her, but, well, you know, flirting about half-dressed. She's, you know.
The timing of this felt terribly unfair. I see.
Nothing's happened. He glanced at her quickly.
Elle took a suitably light tone. That's very restrained of you. She's beautiful.
It makes me uncomfortable, he repeated, as if she hadn't spoken. I want you to ask her to leave.
How could she say to him? How could she now... Con virtuously resist the advances of a 19-year-old French woman while Elle falls into bed and gets pregnant by an American lover. If only they matched one another in crime, how much easier it would be.
Elle, you're not upset, are you? I wanted to tell you the truth. Con negotiates the car into the pub car park.
Of course not. Anyway, I've got something more important to tell you. I'm pregnant. She feels him turn in his seat to stare at her, and has to force herself to meet his gaze.
He is leaning into her, arms encircling her. Oh, Elle.
His body is shaking, and she realizes he is crying. Con, it's okay. It's okay.
I'm so glad. His breath is hot in her ear. I'm so glad. You don't know how glad I am. He draws back far enough to look at her, his face alight and happy.
She needs to tell him why she didn't mention it before. But there's something I must tell...
You're wonderful. You're perfect. Come on, we'll have champagne.
I have...
But Con is speaking at the same time. It's a new beginning. Let's start again, Elle. Look how we've drifted. No wonder you couldn't tell me before.
I didn't tell you because I didn't believe it myself. Is she going to tell him now? I felt stupid when I realised Elle is out of breath. Is she going to lie to him after all? She is astonished at herself. But what could be gained from telling him about Glen when it's gone and over and done with? Wouldn't honesty be self-indulgent?
And the lie had taken. And beautiful blonde Cara was born, and Con loved her more than any of the others. He was her father, and she was his daughter.
And Elle hugged her past to herself and imagined herself safe from discovery, as indeed she was, for 19 years. She is dragged from her memories by Paul, who claims he also could not sleep and says they must call the police today. Paul, I just don't think it's necessary yet. I'm phoning them, Mum, right now. He heads for the kitchen. Elle has realised she has not scoured Con's computer as thoroughly as she meant to. What if the police take it today? She dresses quickly and goes to Con's study. Sitting at his desk, she feels sick with dread. The dread of finding something out. Something secret, shameful, something he has chosen to keep hidden from her. The grey box on his desk is basically an extension of his brain. Flicking through its files and folders is fully as invasive as prying into his mind. She steels herself. Bad as his disappearance is, to find out the truth of it would be worse, because then she will have to know. How can the end of this story be good? Scanning his emails is not as big a job as she imagined. His desktop is only a year old. There are storage folders labelled House, Admin, and Mad. She clicks on Mad. There are 7 emails, the first dated 4 months ago.
Don't worry, I haven't forgotten you. Wanker.
No signature. The sender's address is mad@me.com. The second says,
Oh, Conrad, I have something very special up my sleeve for you.
The next,
Why so quiet? Squeal, piggy, squeal. You will.
next,
You looked cute on that hotel bed. Shall I send the photo to your wife? Pity about my bra and panties on the bed.
Elle pauses, the words dancing before her eyes. Okay. She knew. It had to be a woman. But what kind of a woman is this? A blackmailer? The following one, sent in December, read,
What punishment is good enough for what you've done? I shall rip your heart out.
He must have dumped her. Next,
Long-distance torture is easy, eh? What the eye doesn't see, you will see, shitface. Trust me.
only one left, dated 2 weeks ago.
See you soon, sweetie.
Elle's heart is pounding. She clicks wildly, looking for replies in the sent folder. None. She becomes aware of a hubbub in the hall. Cara's taxi has arrived. Did you have breakfast? Cara's face is white. No time, Mum. Have some at the airport. Here, and for the taxi. Elle thrusts £60 into Cara's hand. Ring me when you get to the hotel. Promise? Elle heads back into Con's office.
I shall rip your heart out.
And that last message, an agreed meeting? Or is the sweetie a threat? Elle stares at the emails, opening them one after another and then printing them off. If she gives these to the police, Won't they be able to trace the email address? If anyone has harmed Con, it must be her, mad. But what if he has changed his mind and run away with her? But how could he be with someone so abusive and hateful? Elle is going round in circles. There is something missing here, something that doesn't make sense. She will email the woman herself, she thinks, when she has a clear enough head to work out what to say.
Conrad is sitting on the floor under the window. There is a revolving orange light outside. It must be an ambulance or a police car. But no siren. Breakdown truck? It doesn't really matter. He can't close the curtains because of the suffocating dark, and if he leaves them open, the room is filled with this measured flashing. On the bed, it was going over him. Under the window, he is sheltered. He pulls the pillow and duvet from the bed. It's 2:30. A long time till daylight. He can't remember when he last slept. He tries to imagine the children, but all he can see is Kara crying. Just get through the night. It will feel better after dawn. A primitive understanding. The lights in the monkey house go out at 10 p.m. It's pitch dark in there, apart from the red safety light above the emergency exit. He considers himself a monkey in an experiment. Watches himself with a note-taking eye. Subject not sleeping, huddled by wall, rejecting food, irregular bowel movements. He is huddled here in this box. His life in this box. His 50-year-old life. In fact, he is hungry. That's a thought. What can he do about it? You can't get food at 3 a.m. You have to sleep. You can only get food in the morning. He wraps the duvet around himself and curls up on the floor. His mind turns to Kara. He had to go to Leeds to fetch her back. She had been ringing and crying for 3 weeks, but when he knocked on the door of her room in the hall of residence, he wasn't prepared for how she would look. Deathly pale, her hair lank and unwashed, her eyes brimming with tears. He hated the boy, the stupid, callous boy, who wasn't worth her grief. She cried all the way home, inconsolably, and he noticed the stick thinness of her fingers, hands and arms, and blamed himself and Elle for not realizing sooner. But she was rescued. He reassures himself. He did rescue her. He stayed off work, made her soups and snacks, took her out for walks and swims as if she were a little girl again. And sadly, brokenly, she obeyed, ate, and took exercise. He and Eleanor argued.
You make her worse, Con. You're pandering to her.
Elle, can you not see? She's on the verge of a breakdown. She's lost over a stone.
I think she's getting behind with her essays. It will be harder to go back.
She doesn't want to go back. Should he have packed her off back to Leeds instead of honouring her distress? She has never returned to university. Con sees there was no right answer. All the questions have been trick questions. And here he has been, all his life, earnestly trying his best, while something somewhere snorts with laughter at his attempts, at his naive and credulous life. Dawn comes slowly, grudgingly. He hauls himself up to the window. The flashing light is gone. He finds his shoes, slips out the heavy front door. The air is thick and icy cold. Something to eat. He turns right then left, and there is a bright glass front of a cafe. Its golden window is filled with heaps of croissants and cakes. The aroma of fresh coffee zips across the cold street. Con gets a latte and 2 croissants, finds a vacant stool, joins the ranks of the saved. When he has finished, he orders the same again, relaxing into the slow contentment of being fueled. Staring into the mirror over the bar, he registers a young couple come in with a baby. The infant is wrapped in a pouch to the boy's chest. The child gazes up at him adoringly. They had a pouch like that for Paul. Faded blue corduroy. They used it when he was very young, in the days of innocence. Con remembers the feel of the warm weight of the child pressed against his chest. He remembers walking down the street like that, holding hands with Elle. My turn to carry him for 9 months now. Since no one but Elle could feed Paul, Con did all the rest when he was home from work. Bathing, nappy changing, long walks round and round the sitting room at night, gently rubbing the baby's back and waiting for him to burp and settle. Con remembers it as a time of generosity between himself and Elle. She gave him the baby. In return, he gave her time for her work. Steptoe and Edwards were making history with their attempts at IVF, and like many others at the hospital, she was caught up in the drama of it. It was inevitable she should end up working in the same field. It was Con who took Paul to Kelly, the childminder, in the morning, and picked him up in the afternoon. This made it equal between them then. That was why it was good. The only grounds for bitterness must be that it ended. Trying to linger now, trying to be fair, Con watches the young couple and their baby leave with a surge of grief. The fine balance that they had, the working, child-caring, giving to each other balance, was it really Elle who smashed it? Yes. He feels his shoulders sag. He doesn't know how to stop blaming her. He wants to reclaim his own life, at least some of it, from her. And when they made the decision to have another child, when Paul was 2, it seems to Con they both recognised that Con was doing the lion's share of child-rearing without complaint, since he knew Elle wouldn't have agreed to a second if it had threatened more disruption to her work. She became pregnant with and delivered Megan, and 2 months later, Elle dropped a bombshell.
We need to get an au pair.
What's wrong with Kelly?
Nothing, she's been great, but it's getting too complicated.
You're saying I'm not allowed to choose being with the kids?
They don't need their parents 24 hours a day. They need to be loved and fed, but they don't need us all the time. In fact, they'd be better socialised without us.
You don't want to come home early from work, so you want me to stop doing it too.
You can still come home early every bloody day if you want, but at least it will be a choice.
An au pair came from an agency. Con wouldn't have anything to do with it, so Elle interviewed her and took her on. A stolid Austrian. The kids seemed to like her. She stayed with them for 2 years. Con never stopped resenting it. When Gressel left, the children cried. But then the next au pair was Helene, whom everybody loved. Unlike Gressel, she took it for granted he would want to take over when he came in, and bath the kids and read stories while she would put on the radio and clean up the mess in the kitchen. If she wasn't going out and Elle was late home, Helene would sit companionably with Con while he ate, regaling him with the minutiae of the children's day and lurid tales of the other au pairs in her language class. Stories of the fathers, dreadful predatory men. One even came into her friend Natalie's room at night while his wife was sleeping. She delighted in these scandals, and Con knew perfectly well that he was being tested. She was 19 and devastatingly pretty. He was 29, with a wife who never came home. One evening after the children were down, they got onto the subject of sex, and how many different euphemisms the British had for it relative to the French. Shag, bonk, bang, screw, a spot of how's your father. This made her howl with joy. The old in-out, knee trembler, to know, in the biblical sense, fornicate, intercourse, come together, necessitating a playing of the Beatles song of that title, sleep with, jiggy jiggy, to tumble in the hay. When at last he said, "It's bedtime," she giggled and pushed her chair back. She came round the table and put her hand on his shoulder, and it was impossible not to reach up to her. He was kissing her, running his hands over her warm body, and then he pulled away. "I don't want to be one of those men. You know, pawing the au pair." "No, please." Her fingers had found his zip. Hastily, he locked the front door, leaving the key in case of a surprise early return by Elle. He followed Helene to her room and wedged a chair against the door. In the pounding silence afterwards, he felt his heart sink like a stone. He determined to get Elle to ask the girl to leave, dropping just enough of the truth into conversation to make it plausible. Helene was flirting, making him uncomfortable. He was afraid Elle would laugh it off. Then it turned out she had news of her own. She was pregnant. Now he knows his guilt blinded him. Now he knows there was another story. When did Cara become his favourite? Maybe it began right then, when he heard of her presence in Elle's womb, and thought with shame of her first 2 months in utero, and of his distraction from her mother's body.
Elle is convinced she should have gone to Munich with Kara. She has not phoned. She is afraid she has allowed her daughter to enter something dangerous, a black hole which has already swallowed Con and might easily devour Kara too. Why did she let her go alone? The woman, mad, Con has had a relationship with her. That much is obvious. But it is also obvious he has finished with her. And he was alarmed by the nastiness of her threats. That's why he kept the emails, as evidence. So the last thing he would want to do is walk into a situation of danger with her. He has not run away with her. Elle can't believe that. And the woman is hardly likely to have murdered him. Elle is mentally filing the mad emails under red herring. She has emailed mad@me.com from her own computer, not wanting to leave any traces on his. She settled on a simple, "Do you know where Conrad is?" But the email bounced back, address unknown. She does not believe Mad has anything to do with Conrad's disappearance, but it does show he has had at least one other relationship, while Elle has been sailing obliviously along, having an affair of her own, not suspecting him. And the feeling it gives her is of grief and panic. How could she have drifted so far from him? Next morning she wakes at 6:30. She has a quick shower and takes a cup of tea straight to her office. She has a hunch Con may turn up today and be rather irritated by all the fuss. He'll come back. She can trust him. She should go to work. Last night's painful anxiety has not yet returned, although she senses it will. There is a kind of superstition that is attached to her characteristic speed, to success and happiness. It has to do with never letting the bad things in. Energy and movement have been her protection and have all her life kept her immune from psychological harm. Con slowed down and so made himself susceptible. She has had this argument with him more than once about his work last year. If it's not going anywhere, for heaven's sake, Con, get out.
I've spent half my life on the transplant program.
The only thing that's stopping you from getting out of the monkey house is your own depression.
He let the bad thing in. Once fear and gloom and despair are allowed in, you are contaminated.
On cue, the doorbell rings. She hurries to get it. A policeman and woman asked to come in. Paul rang them last night. There is no news. They've just come to take away Con's computer and personal papers. She has already decided not to tell them about the mad emails. Let's see how long they take to find them. It probably won't be these two anyway. It will be some computer nerd in a garret. If they find something she's missed, well, good. Within minutes, they are gone. Elle is left surveying the gaping absences in Con's office. Her eyes fill with tears. It is ridiculous to howl about his room when she hasn't cried for him. But she shouldn't have let them take away his computer. His work is on it. She should have made copies. She dresses smartly and goes to the police station, asked to speak to whoever is in charge. The desk sergeant takes down all her details, then vanishes into an inner office for a full 5 minutes, only to re-emerge with the news that no one can help her at the moment, but someone will phone her later today. He cannot even give her a name.
Conrad retraces his steps to the hotel. Now it's light, perhaps he'll sleep. He needs to think what to do, but he can't until he's slept. Dull, heavy hammer blows are pounding the back of his head, low down, just above the nape of his neck, as if a dogged executioner is trying to chop off his head with the wrong implement. He curls into a fetal position and closes his eyes, but it's no good. Closed eyes make the pounding feel louder, like he's shut inside a box with it, and his heart, beating to a different rhythm, is speeding up. He holds his head and neck still, gingerly reaches down to pull the duvet higher up his chest. Slowly, he closes his left eye, opens it, closes the right. Watches the way the end of the bed jumps from one side to the other with each blink. What he thought was here is there. Here, there. What he thought was good is bad. The truth he loved was lies. At work, the drugs are good, stop rejection, enable the host to accept the transplant. The drugs are bad, destroying the host's defences, necessitating killer doses of antibiotics. Take away the good, he dies. Take away the bad, he can't accept the good, and dies. Simply yet intricately knotted together as the two ends of a shoelace in a bow. Without experience, there's no innocence. Innocence was once as real as experience now is. Experience can't wipe it from the record. Is it that he wishes it could? Those innocent visions. Elle in the sunlit garden with golden-haired Kara in her arms. Oh, he would prefer to surgically excise the memory. Slice the nerves, sew up their ends, lop off that pain. He was a different person then. He reaches with disbelief for that young man's conviction. He thought he knew what was right. He had an interview with Saul and Brock. He was tempted by their research, excited by the challenge they were offering him and the autonomy he would have in the research. He didn't like the monkey house, though. He'd never liked the monkey house. There followed 6 years of optimism and hard work and terrible futility. By the early 90s, funding was drying up, and the in-house monkey breeding program was increasingly unsuccessful, so they were having to source from other research centres and even from overseas. There would never be a big enough supply of monkey organs to meet demand, given how slowly they reproduced in captivity. Brock started talking about moving on in the spring of '93. If he went, that would surely be the end of their funding. When he asked Con to come for a drink to discuss plans, Con assumed he had decided to make the obvious move to the States. They met in a pub in town, took their beers to the upper level, and sank back into an alcove. "Cheers." "Cheers." An appraising stare from under Brock's eyebrows, and then a sudden grin. "You know where I'm going?" "Boston." Brock was shaking his head. "I'm going over to the other side. I'm staying right here and taking the drug company shilling." "You've lost me." "Have you heard of a company called Corastra?" "I've seen the name. Transgenics?" "Small UK company funded by a guy I was at school with, very bright man, Christopher Farrell." "What's the work?" "Pigs. Pig-to-primate transplants, with the ultimate aim of pig-to-human xenografts." "It's mad," Con said. "The hyperacute rejection across a species divide that wide is instant. They're genetically modifying the pigs, breeding pigs which are transgenic, and pigs breed quickly." "Precisely. 2 to 3 litres a year, 10 or so per litre. Enough hearts to supply the transplant wants of the world. Good grief. And they're doubling my salary. Are you interested? They want another immunologist with primate experience, and when they approached me, I recommended you." "Where is it?" "We stay here. Use our own lab facilities. We become Corastra Research Fellows. The only big change is that the animal work is farmed out to a group called Carrington BioLife. All the surgical and routine stuff is contracted out to them. They send us reports and samples for analysis. We tell them how to adjust dosages. It's a more efficient use of manpower." Con remembers the particular draw of the distant, professionally run animal house. The utterly unrealistic vision it conjured of contented animals in surroundings rather like a zoo, tended by kindly keepers. He remembers it now also as the attraction of not having to get his own hands dirty. Elle was less hostile to the idea than he expected. The sticking point was Big Pharma.
"Bet you'll have to sign some sort of loyalty oath,"
she said. He hadn't thought of that, of course. It was one thing to be paid by them to move swiftly on groundbreaking research. It was another to be their creature, his silence bought with their silver. He hadn't thought of what yielding up his freedom of speech might mean, which reminds him of his last visit to the monkey house. His last visit. The day he first met Maddie. The day he meets her, nearly a year ago, only a year, is ever present in his memory. The day when the nightmare breaks through and confirms itself as real. He finally visits the Carrington BioLife facility, where his research animals are housed. It is a 2-hour drive, but it is something he has known he must do for a long time. To be honest, since he started working for Carastra. But there has always been a good reason for putting it off. Now, monkey longevity has improved, and he has to check at what point they are sacrificing moribund animals to ensure this really is good news. He knows it's not the minute he enters the building. There is no good news here. The smell is enough to tell him that. The smell of sickness and old feces and urine, strong enough to almost block out the stink of oranges. He heads to the primate section, lets himself into the sterile room, and finds the 3 surviving monkeys from his own tests. The new hearts have been grafted onto their necks, a quicker and simpler way of testing rejection, and all 3 look poorly. He can see immediately that all 3 of them are suffering from too high doses of immunosuppressants. But there is no way out of this. Their bodies won't accept the hearts unless their immune systems are utterly suppressed, and this in turn causes vomiting and renal failure. But there have been so many adjustments to the drug regime over the last year, he had hoped to have a couple of survivors out of this batch. He reaches for the notes. There is nothing written against today's date. For yesterday, quiet but alert. Nothing about the vomiting. Quiet, unsteady, written in the same hand. He quickly goes through to the room labelled Technician's Office. It is empty. Why is the place so deserted? He rifles through the file cabinets until he finds Monkeys, Surgical. He takes out a handful of folders. The first one he glances through electrifies him. Piglet heart found to be unsuitably large at 10.75 ounces. Subject died on the table. But how could they have a heart that size? The heart sizes are specified, nothing over 6 ounces. And why should the monkey die? Could they not repair the neck surgery? He is trembling with rage. When he heads back out of the primate house, he forces himself to look. Cages have not been cleaned out. Old vomit and excreta and spilt food litter the floors. There are numerous comatose animals who should have been sacrificed days ago. He strides back to reception, asks the lad there what time they do the rounds. The lad glances up from his mobile phone and says, 2-ish? I'm coming back then. Please make a note. He stands over the youth as he scrawls Conrad's name in the slot beside PM. Con can now see that all the other slots are empty. He tells the guy on the gate he'll be back, leaving his car and walking fast down the lane, breathing clean air, eyes staring blankly through leafless March hedges to newly ploughed fields beyond. He can't think who he can safely talk to about this. Brock was the one, but he died last year of a heart attack. And then Saul decamped to the States. Con is the only Carastra fellow left in the department. Maybe he can sort it out on his own. He thinks of the loyalty clause, the hunger for results, of the increasing sense of futility. Maybe they would pull the plug on the whole thing. Maybe that would be a good idea. When he arrives in the nearby town, the smell of coffee wafts at him from an open door. He turns into the cafe and orders a drink. He sits by the window, cradling his mug between his hands.
May I join you?
A woman's voice. He's so startled he slops coffee across the table.
Sorry,
she says.
It's so nice to sit by the window.
She is inoffensive enough. Mouse brown hair, pale and serious and devoid of makeup. She looks like a librarian.
Do you live here?
No, he says. She nods.
It's all right,
she says.
Apart from one thing. There's one big skeleton in this town's cupboard.
Really? He sees her clocking that he's afraid she's a nutter. She adjusts and gives a little laugh.
It's my obsession. No need for me to bore you with it.
She half turns away. Is she trying to pick him up? Why did she sit by him? What is this skeleton? You can't leave me in suspense like that.
There's a vivisection laboratory here, where they do experiments on living animals.
As soon as she says it, he realises he knew she would. Do you work there?
God forbid. I love animals. I'm a pacifist.
Why is she telling him this? He sips his coffee. My son's a vegetarian, he offers.
So am I.
They sit in brief silence.
I've joined a protest group.
She tells Con.
PECA. Prevent experiments and cruelty to animals. They put chemicals in dogs' eyes and feed them artificial sweetness till they die of poisoning.
Better poison an animal than a human, says Con automatically. He has a sudden pang of, jealousy? For her complacency. Her cleanliness. He knows he is still contaminated by the stench of the animal house. How do you protest? She smiles, and he finds himself smiling back. She looks younger when she smiles.
The main thing is to let people know. Education. Because people don't imagine such things can be done in a civilised society. Well, nearly everyone loves animals, don't they? We hold monthly vigils outside the gates. Sometimes new people join us, and we put information on our website.
Con drains his coffee. It is enough. He needs to find his own thoughts again before he goes back. He pushes back his chair.
I believe in the power of love,
she says.
Sometimes I go and sit outside the fence and will love and strength to the animals. I want to give them hope.
He imagines her sitting there in her mousy grey coat, goodness radiating from her. That's, well... He gives a laugh and shakes his head. That's impressive.
You're a scientist, aren't you?
Why do you say that?
I saw you. I was by the fence. I followed you.
When Con replays the scene, this is the moment of pause. Why doesn't he walk away? She reveals her hand. She has already manipulated him. Why doesn't he walk away? Because she is his guilt, his own distress made manifest. He doesn't walk away because he thinks she is good. He sits down again, tells her something of what he's seen. She persuades him to take her camera, to take photos for her website, meet her later. So much for her fancying him. I don't know when I'll finish, and then I have a long drive back. I have to get home to my children. Yes. He even told her he had children.
But just pop in,
she says. And he agrees, taking the camera, because she is what he deserves. But when he returns, photos taken, he winds the film to its end and extracts it from the camera and pockets it. I can't let you use any of this now. I need to try to get change within the labs first. I need the threat of making the pictures public.
I understand.
She is balm to his own distress. By the time he is ready to leave, they have exchanged names and email addresses, and he has promised to keep her informed about how he gets on. She, in turn, promises to keep this meeting a secret. It is only on the drive home that he has doubts, and wonders why he has told her quite so much.
When Eleanor gets home from the police station, Dan tells her Kara has rung and will ring again later. Was she okay? Dan stares at her in that way he does. She didn't say if she was okay. Oh, thank you, Dan. She spends a couple of hours finishing off a grant application, then goes to the corner shop for bits and pieces for dinner because she can't face a supermarket. Dan seems mercifully unperturbed by his father's absence and agrees to go back to his room at college because there's nothing useful that he can do here. She can talk to the children, she reassures herself. She can. It's just that Con is around at home more, so he's the one they naturally go to. She and Con shared looking after the kids, for heaven's sake, and she had them on her own while Con went to America that time. She thinks about Megan, who has flown the nest most successfully, immersed in her theatrical world, concerned about Con, but not pestering and emoting all over the place. Elle ought to go and see her in her latest play. Con said she was very good in it. What was it? But Megan won't mind if she doesn't. She understands the imperatives of a busy life. She has inherited Elle's driven genes. At 6:30, she cleans her teeth and puts some makeup on and heads off to meet Louis at the Golden Hind. He is at the bar, and she watches him buy a drink. A small, wiry man in a well-fitting suit. There is something about the tension in him, the coiledness of him that always draws the eye. He is only still when he sleeps. As he turns to walk towards her, their eyes meet, and he smiles. It is impossible not to smile back. He kisses her lightly. No news. Nothing. Heard from Kara? Dan has. If she finds anything, I'm sure she'll... Louis nods and sips his drink. Is everyone talking about Con? He shrugs. A bit, of course. I don't know what to do. Well, there's not much you can do, is there? That is, if you don't have any idea. What idea could I have? He's never done anything like this before. You say that as if I should have some idea, or even as if you thought I was having an idea but keeping it secret. Eleanor, stop it. Don't tell me to stop. To Elle's horror, she has to swallow a choking sob. Tears have leapt to her eyes. Is there anything I can do? Louis says kindly. Like what? For God's sake, Elle, I haven't made him disappear. Maybe we did. Maybe he just got fed up of this and thought, sod it. Why should I live with a woman who's seeing someone else? Why should I... Eleanor, if he was going to run off because you were screwing someone else, he would have done it long ago. A part of Eleanor's brain observes that this is a very unpleasant thing for Louis to say. Putting that to one side, she analyses the content. It is the cumulative weight of numerous offences, a build-up, a continual cynical battering which finally triggers a reaction. Elle knows this, and feels for the first time a piercing certainty that this is what has happened, that Con has left her for precisely this reason, attrition. He has given up on her, and now she can't suppress the tears. Picking up her bag, she runs out of the pub and has locked herself in the car before Louis can get to her. He tries the door as she starts the engine. Eleanor, stop it, don't be... His words are lost as she reverses wildly, swings around and out onto the mercifully empty road. She can hear her own throat roaring for air between sobs. She can see the road in bursts between bouts of tears like driving through a thunderstorm. Con has gone because of her. She has finally driven Con away. The car drifts to the curb and stops moving. The engine stalls. Elle leans her head on the steering wheel and cries. Soon after she gets home, Cara rings. I've been to all the hospitals and the police. A woman told me all the places they've checked. He's not anywhere public. Well, come home, Cara. Get the first flight in the morning. What about amnesia? He might have had a bump on the head and... Then he'd be in hospital. But he might not realise, just be walking about. He'd have to be staying somewhere, using money, showing his ID. The line crackles. Come home, Cara. Bye, Mum. Louis calls a couple of times and leaves messages on her mobile. Ring me, Eleanor, this is silly. She is not going to ring him. Paul returns, hears that the police have not rung back about the computer, and goes down to the station himself the following morning. As a result of his efforts, a tall, diffident detective sergeant materialises on the doorstep in the late afternoon. The three of them sit at the table drinking tea and discussing the case. Someone is going through Con's computer now, and it will be returned tomorrow. They are willing to liaise with the police in Munich, but if he has left Munich, he could be anywhere in the world. And there is no mechanism for... For what? Finding one person who may be deliberately concealing his identity in the whole world. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but it's true. There's no way we could find him. His bank account hasn't been touched since Saturday of the conference. He withdrew €250 that morning from the cash point outside his hotel. If he uses the card again, the bank will tell us, but so far... He shrugged. If he's not withdrawing money, he's not spending it. Paul's voice is light and reasonable. The only way you don't spend money is if someone else is looking after you. Or you're dead. Or if you've already transferred money to a different account, perhaps under another name. We'll be checking with his bank for movement of funds in the recent past. Elle appreciates his businesslike attitude. Nevertheless, she is taken aback when he drains his cup of tea and says, Now, I'd like to search the house, if I may. This house? He nods. Elle is conscious of Paul's eyes on her. Of course. I'll start in his study. It feels as if he's looking for evidence of a crime, committed by Con, or her, even murder, committed by her. He's looking for big, obvious things. Paul appears with his coat on. I'm picking up Cara at 8. I'll bring her straight back here. Right, I'll make her some food. Good idea. See you, Mum. The policeman enters the kitchen, gives her a quick nod, and begins opening the cupboards, crouching to peer into each one. What on earth does he imagine finding inside them? Parts of Con's dismembered body? When he looks in the freezer, she realizes that is indeed what he is looking for. She is a suspect. She imagines the case against herself. Eleanor Evanson, in cold blood, plotted with her lover of 3 years' standing to murder and dispose of the body of her husband Conrad. She wished to claim that he had vanished in order to benefit financially and to free herself to indulge more fully in her adulterous affair. The key to this, the real clues, will be in her own head, in her memory. She needs to dismiss the whole idea of this woman mad. She needs to approach the problem more deliberately. If Con has gone, the most likely reason for it is her. Would he kill himself? He would never put the kids through that, especially his beloved Cara. He would never inflict so much harm. But the dwindling thought kindles to brief life again. If he made it look like an accident, this is nonsense. Cara has visited the hospitals and the morgue. Con is not dead. No, Con has gone somewhere else because of her. Yesterday she thought it was because of attrition, because of knowing about her and Louis. But today that seems too simple and too sentimental an analysis. She has lived her life as if people were responsible for their actions, so now she must make sense of this. So, in the beginning they had Paul. It was from that accidental pregnancy that the individual identity of their life as a couple sprang. Once they made the decision, she was filled with boundless energy, which enabled her to sail through finals and start work at Oldham Hospital, but also to redecorate with Con the little terraced house they'd found. Everything went as they had planned. They led a charmed life. Baby Paul was not only perfect and beautiful, but also slept long, regular hours. No one's work suffered. Everyone gained. Con had been right, and she honoured him for it. Elle becomes aware that her face is stiff, that she is holding her lips in an unnatural grimace. She doesn't want to cry. There is no need to think about those times. She can scroll through them, just keeping an eye out for the first broken thread, the moment when it all began to unravel. But if she's going to cook tonight, some things will need defrosting. She goes out to the garage to look in the big freezer. And here's a shock. It is virtually empty. All there is a stack of horrible ready meals for one. A lamb tikka, moussaka, fish pie. Who eats these? It can only be Con. He's in charge of shopping and cooking. But where are all his frozen veg from the garden? Every year he grows them and freezes the surplus in neatly labelled bags for winter use. She runs out into the sodden garden, across the lawn, past the trellis. Of course there is nothing here, it's winter. But does it always look like this, so desolate? He has not grown any veg this year. He can't have done. But that is unknown in their history. The year that he went to America, he fussed endlessly over choosing the right person to take over the garden. It is part of the ritual of his life. How is it that she has not looked in the freezer or the garden for so long?
Conrad sleeps, wakes, sleeps, losing track of days and nights. He traces and retraces the streets of Bologna, lost in a maze of memories. Time has gone haywire. How many days has he been here? Looking up from his trudging, he notices he's outside a restaurant. A couple in the window are tucking into full plates. He could have a proper meal. Why not? He knows that why not is because he's trying to conserve his cash, but he'll have to get some more soon anyway. And besides, who the hell cares where he is? He probably hasn't even been missed yet. He opens the heavy door and is met by good smells. He hasn't had a proper meal in days. He studies the menu, relishing the warmth, the comfort, the prospect of warm food, the sudden transition from being a freezing and aimless vagrant to being a purposeful diner. which makes him question the complex mess he has got himself into. Is he really on the run from Maddie? Is she the real reason he is rattling about alone in Bologna? Surely not. Didn't he make up his mind to leave Eleanor 3 weeks ago? It has just taken Maddie to push him over the edge. 3 weeks ago, he went to see Megan in The Winter's Tale in a warehouse space in Camden. She is Queen Hermione, flirtatious, mature, poised. She is so like Elle that it is uncanny. A reincarnation of the Elle he first met. Mesmerised by her face and rapid, graceful movements, it is a while before Con tunes into the play. Watching the distilled purity of Leonti's jealousy, Con is shamed. He has not even been jealous. Hasn't Elle taken up with Louis, continued with Louis because Con has given up on her, and not cared enough to be jealous? In swallowing his own rage, he has made Elle's behaviour excusable. What has he done? Compromised, prevaricated, thought of the children, thought of the disruption, tried to pay her back by not caring. Death in life. She was right to despise him. Of course she betrayed him. He's invited it. At dinner with Megan after the show, there is a lot of meat on the menu. Con doesn't object to meat itself, but he tends to cook and eat vegetarian to honour Paul and Megan's demands. They have been off meat for years. After a trip to his lab, seeing the caged monkeys, followed by an episode on holiday where the children came across a dead cow, Paul decided it was cruel to keep animals just to eat them. Megan joined him in her teens. Con remembers her becoming fascinated by the island of Dr. Moreau. Could this happen? She wanted to know. Could you chop and sew together animals like this? Why would anyone want to? The only point of what I do is its human application. We're not out to create freaks. She grinned. If you put a monkey heart in a person, they might fall in love with a monkey. Unlikely, but you never know. Do you think it's cruel, Dad? I don't know how else we're going to be able to help people with heart problems. OK. I'd rather have a monkey heart than no heart. And bananas are my favourite food. She slipped away to do something else, leaving Con smiling. Megan was as easy as Paul was difficult. When Cara asked to go and see where he worked, he didn't mention the animal house, confining her to the labs and a collection of beautifully stained slides of cells. He kept her well away from meat, alive or dead, which takes him back, of course, to Maddie. After his first meeting with Maddie, the relationship is normalised by the exchange of friendly emails. She does not pester, but emails every 10 days or so, wondering how he is getting on, giving the odd detail of her life. She describes a 2-person picket outside a local beauty salon where animal-tested products are used.
I had to remind myself that it was all in a good cause.
Con spends a long time composing his email to Carrington BioLife, itemising the problems with their animal care. It is important not to sound too shrill. It takes nearly 2 weeks for their reply to come. Thank you for your comments. CBL is committed to improving animal welfare. It is not even signed. In a rage, he phones their office, where a helpful message informs him he will be rung back. He realises that the weekly reports on his animals, on his experiments, come from the CBL office, but are never ascribed to a person with a name. He's never even thought about that before. He goes to discuss the situation with his head of department, Gus. Everyone in the department is using CBL now that the university animal house has closed down. But Gus is frantic, with a massive funding application deadline and a PhD supervision that night. Bad, yes, bad, he nods, when Con shows him the photos. But don't do anything yet. Let's check where we're all up to first. I'm waiting for some results that I'd like before we take any action that might affect the running of the place. Look, I've got to dash. Just sit on it for a bit, will you? Con puts out feelers to colleagues at other universities using CBL, and responses are all similar. An unwillingness to disrupt experiments in progress, plus fatalistic shoulder-shrugging at the suggestion of abuse. You probably hit a bad day. Con considers going to the press. But what stops him is the issue of anonymity. They'll need to name him as a whistleblower, and there is the confidentiality clause he's signed. Could he be prosecuted, or worse? Surely he could gain the same result, exposure of the abuses anonymously, through Maddie. After 6 weeks, he agrees to Maddie's request that they meet on neutral territory in Birmingham, where she has a job interview the following day. When she comes through the ticket barrier at New Street, she is wearing a red skirt and black boots. She looks younger than he remembered. He feels a kind of glee that Elle, if she cared to look in his wallet, might find a train ticket and a receipt for drinks and a meal for two, and wonder what is going on. They walk to her hotel, him carrying her bag. She seems cowed, as if the size and noise of the city, or maybe it is meeting him, is too much for her. He dredges for things to chat about, feeling awkwardly avuncular. He finds himself wondering about her age. 35, 40. Yet she has a girlish quality, as if she has never been anywhere.
I'm really grateful to you for agreeing to meet me again. You can help the campaign so much.
The hotel restaurant is adequate, with a respectable scattering of diners, but she reads the menu with an anxious expression. He wonders if she is bothered about money. "My treat," he says. "Have something nice now, go on. And will you drink red or white?" He orders a bottle. Why not? Once they've placed their orders, he shows her his statement, pointing out that it will be necessary to withhold his name. He's written it the previous evening. A deliberately undramatic account itemizing the ways in which the state of the animals contravenes the law. She reads it, and then glances up at him.
The photos? A picture is worth 1,000 words, you know. People join the protest when they see pictures. It's so much more immediate.
Well, I need to think about that. They may well have CCTV footage of me taking them. Bang goes my anonymity. She nods doubtfully, makes notes in a little notebook as he tells her the other colleagues in universities who use CBL. What's the harm? It's all in the public domain anyway. When she's finished, she thanks him, and then they just chat and eat. She wants to know about his family, his children, what they all do. But when he asks her in return, she shakes her head, wide-eyed.
Oh no, I've never been married. I'm not in a relationship.
He realises that he has drunk most of the wine and that he is talking a lot. But it is pleasant to sit in the glow of her attention. She seems to him almost a beggar at life's feast. An only child of working-class parents already dead, living alone. A wanderer who was taught English as a foreign language in 6 different cities, never settling, developing attachments to pets rather than people.
I had such a beautiful, clever cat in Granada. Broke my heart to leave her. She used to tap on my window for me to let her in at night, and my room was on the 3rd floor.
He finds himself searching for clues to her solitariness. She's attractive enough, much more attractive indeed than she seemed at their first meeting. She's kind-hearted. Why has no man or woman snapped her up? When it is time to go, he carries her bag to the lifts.
Sorry,
she says, and puts her hand on his arm.
I have a thing about lifts.
He carries her bag up 2 flights of stairs, and at the head of the corridor passes it back to her.
Thank you so much,
she whispers.
I've had a lovely time, and you will make such a difference.
To his surprise, she stands on tiptoe and pecks him on the cheek, then moves off. He has to run for his train. Her sudden hot breath on his face stays with him rather disturbingly. Poor girl. Woman. And yet, there is more to her than that. He finds himself basking in a sense of his own attractiveness.
Eleanor's phone rings. The police, wanting to ask about Con's computer. There are a few emails in a folder called Mad. Was Eleanor aware of them? Yes, she says, and no, she doesn't know who they're from. If there's nothing else, please can she have the computer back? They promise to return it shortly. Paul and Cara arrive, but Cara refuses all food. I just need to go to bed. I'm tired. She stamps off upstairs. Elle is left with Paul and an unappetizing vegetarian meal she has put together. Lentil dal that is almost inedibly hot, rice, salad and hard-boiled eggs. Paul toys with his food in silence. She wishes he could be kind to her. She is about to cry for lack of kindness. I don't know what to do, Paul. He looks at her, and she feels his anger relax a notch. There has to be something. If everything at home and in his room has been checked, then someone has to go through all his work stuff. Have the police been there? I don't even know. I could go tomorrow. Will you phone Gus and ask him about access? Of course. When he leaves, she clears the pointless meal and goes to knock softly on Cara's door, but there is no reply. She remembers the question of money and goes to spend an hour looking through Con's old bank statements. There is absolutely nothing untoward. She takes herself to bed, knowing that she will not sleep. She'll think then, to consider again where things went wrong. It is hard to find defining moments. At the point at which you notice change, it has already long ago occurred. Con's souring, his silting up, she had already known it for a while when she first noticed it. But she remembers when she noticed it most recently. It was when the animal libbers went to the press with a lot of allegations about the animal house used by the lab. That was a defining moment, when she could measure the gap between his position and her expectation of him. What's going on? Did you know about it? She asked him that evening.
Yeah, it's nothing serious. They probably made it all up.
She went to the PECA website and read the entire story. The catalogue of wretchedness and the unrelieved failure rate of the research sounded all too plausible. No wonder Con didn't talk about work. Why on earth didn't he get out? She raised it with him that night. What's the point in doing something that's going nowhere, Con?
Because we hope it is going somewhere. That's why we do the research, Elle.
But it seems an intelligently argued article, Con. Haven't you looked at it?
What am I going to learn from some piece of hysteria? It's all a load of shite.
But Con, just look at it and see what you think. He left the room without replying. The press dropped the story after a couple of days and the issue seemed closed. But his indifference to the claims in the story struck Elle unpleasantly. At some level, she thought, he's given up. Even if his work was dehumanizing and going nowhere, he would stay with it because it required more energy and imagination than he could muster to get out. She began to feel a degree of contempt for him. The work was not a root cause of anything, more a manifestation of unease, a symptom of some other deeper wrong. She is drawn back again to Cara's birth, that time of happiness, back again to the centre. Follow the thread from there to find out the heart of the rot. The birth of Cara was a bridge which they crossed to find each other, to find the 2 golden years that led to Daniel's birth. If it was guilt about Cara's true father that made her love him, well, it didn't make the love any less real, nor the love with which he responded. If good can come from bad, then surely that was it. She became more aware of him, of his physical presence. She noticed the space and quiet order he created for her to be in. It was as if he gave her a special world. She became more aware of his mind, noticed, almost with surprise, his clarity, the intellectual sparring, her working out of a position and the testing of it in argument and learning to defend it was all down to Con. When Elle remembers this now, it drenches her in sadness. That is what has been lost. Why, for the last however long, has there been nothing to talk about?
On his way back from the restaurant, Conrad seems to have wandered away from the main drag. Maybe that last glass of wine was a mistake. He feels a little fuzzy. He emerges from a couple of turns at the end of the street and finds himself on a major road. 3 lanes of traffic in each direction. Did he cross this to get here? He has a memory of traffic, but wasn't it a smaller road? The lights have changed. It must be right, because on the other side of the street, the covered pavement begins again, the vaulted brick roofing which is so distinctive in the city centre. It is good to be out of the rain. He has been going for a while when he realises he's climbing a hill. There's no hill in the town centre. This is wrong. His eyes can make out movement, indistinct movement down in the street below. People walking up the hill. He rubs at his eyes, but they refuse to focus. He leans against the wall, feeling the vibration of his heartbeat. Still can't make out what's moving down there. Then he sees that it's a monkey. There's a monkey staring at him, standing up on 2 feet in the middle of the road. Definitely a cynomolgus monkey, its grey fur haloed by a street lamp lower down the hill. Its eyes gleam in its black face. It is very still, watching him. He wants to turn and run, but he knows how fast they are. It would be up his back in seconds, clawing at his head and neck, chattering with rage. If he keeps still, maybe it'll get distracted. He blinks, and the monkey's gone. A male voice further up the hill barks, "Che? Scusi, I am lost. Inglese. English." The man approaching Con is walking with a stick, slightly stooped. His face is fierce and intelligent. "Yes, I've taken a wrong turning. I'm looking for my hotel." "Where is it?" His English is fast and good. "City centre." "You are on the Via San Luca. You must go back down the hill." Maybe the monkey will be scared by this man's voice, by his stick. If Con can walk down the hill with him, he'll be protected. "Thank you." He waits for the man to fall in step beside him. "What is the name of your hotel?" "It's..." The name has gone. "Street?" says the man. Con has no idea. He just knows what it looks like. "I've forgotten," he concedes. "You are a tourist?" "No, I'm a scientist. I've been to a conference and I had some bad news. I came to Bologna for a rest." "Sorry for your bad news. I am Alberto." The man is gravely courteous. Con offers his name and they shake. There is no sign of the monkey, and Con's hot sweat is now freezing on his skin. Alberto is a saviour. "You should not walk this hill at night. Sometimes the robbers come." Con is not concerned about robbers. He is concerned about the monkey, which is back in the road ahead, keeping to the dark centre of the street, keeping pace with their speed, glancing back at Con over its grey shoulder every few seconds to check he is following. "There," Conrad points. "You see?" "What?" "A monkey. We have to be careful. They are vicious." Alberto stops and ferrets in his pocket. For a moment, Con hopes he might take out a gun and shoot the monkey. "This is where I live." He has a key in his hand. "I wish you good night." The monkey has stopped going downhill and has fully turned to look at him. Another burst of scalding sweat erupts through his skin, and he puts his hand to the wall to steady himself. Alberto turns to look at Con. "You are unwell? You like a glass of water?" Wordlessly, Con nods and follows him into the hall. Then, as the door closes behind him, relief unstrings his limbs, and he crumples to the floor. Something is shaking. Con opens his eyes reluctantly and sees Alberto tugging at his shoulder. "You drink now. Drink or you will dehydrate." He takes the glass from Alberto, who watches him drink the water. They are in a child's room. His grown son's room, Alberto says. Posters of racing cars on the blue walls. He is in bed in his clothes. He feels secure. Alberto points to the bedside table. There is a box of paracetamol. "Take 2. Again Con obeys. There is an ache around the bridge of his nose which he is afraid will turn into tears of gratitude. How can a stranger be so kind to him? When he's better, he'll buy Alberto a present. He allows his eyes to close. His mind drifts. How long did it take for things to shift at work? That slow, subterranean movement from optimism and discovery to the dull acceptance that this was it. Nothing much was changing. He was naive and gullible. Soon after their Birmingham meeting, Maddie asked to meet him in London, and he organised a visit to Megan's play to make sense of the journey. She was waiting for him at Euston and led him to an Indian restaurant in Drummond Street. Vegetarian. "So how was my statement received by the group?" he asks, when they are settled at a table.
There are problems with the group,
She says.
Turns out the man who does the website is having an affair with Lindy, who's Tom's partner. Lindy and Tom are the founders of PECA. When it came out, there was a huge flare-up and nothing's been done on the site since.
Con nods. They are cranks. The idea that anything will get done via Maddie is simply a waste of time,
I'm so angry with them all.
Maddie confides.
They're so petty and negative.
Con realises she is near to tears.
I'm like a kid they can order around.
Con is really afraid she will cry. He is annoyed with himself for not realising before how flaky she is. Now he comes to look at her properly. She is a mess. She's wearing a crumpled shirt and faded cords on the hottest day of summer. Her hair is greasy and her skin is grey. Listen, your people will sort it out. Of course they will. Don't you worry.
Everything I do is for the cause. If I can't make a difference, I might as well be dead.
Maddie.
My life is nothing but shit.
She turns and slams out of the restaurant. A waiter grins at Con. After a moment of embarrassment, he realises how relieved he is to be rid of her. He has made a stupid mistake, and he vows he will not make it again. But then, of course, he does. Now sleep, like black water, closes over his head. Alberto comes into Con's room and wakes him, bearing a tray of food. Soup, bread, a sliced apple. "Alberto, thank you." He shuffles himself to sit up. "But I can't, I'm sorry." Alberto nods. "You must have something. It will be 3 days now. You must eat." Has he really been here 3 days? He is ill in a stranger's house. He can't even shift himself back to the hotel. He must give Alberto some money. He fumbles in his wallet, but there is no cash. He hands Alberto his bank card and writes his PIN on the back of an old receipt. Alberto tells him with dignity that he does not require payment, but he will fetch €250 for Conrad. In his wallet, Con finds an old picture of Eleanor breastfeeding Paul. It is tattered with age. She is looking at the photographer, Con, with a great beam of happiness that says, "I'm glad you're looking at me, and it doesn't matter ever what anyone else thinks because we both know this is wonderful." He tries to think when she stopped looking like that. In the history of it all, her affair with Louis is not very important. It is symptomatic, causal. Things were wrong a long time before. It comes back to the America trip. That's when things started to go unstoppably wrong. When Dan was 4, Con was invited to go to Cornell for 6 months by his old colleague, Max. He didn't think it was a good idea, he told Eleanor.
"You should go," she said. "It's a good opportunity."
He felt a strange despair, which he knew he must conceal from her, because it was composed of things he could never admit. Home was the place he wanted most in the world to stay in, with the children, with her. He was ashamed at his lack of enthusiasm. It should be exciting, working in America, being on his own. "It is," he said, "a good career move, probably. But won't you feel rather lumbered?"
"I'll take extended leave, work on my book. I'll actually have some time to think."
When Max picked him up at the airport, his car was as big as a tennis court and shell pink. He shrugged. "If you're going to live amongst the gas guzzlers, you have to keep your end up. Food, drink, drink then food. I've been eating and drinking for the last 8 hours. You gotta stay up, then you'll sleep through." "Till when?" "Till late. We'll go to a couple of bars." He wiggled his eyebrows at Con. "Pick up some girls." Yeah, I have to phone home." Con glanced at his watch, imagining 6 a.m. and Eleanor snuggled in bed with Dan curled beside her. "I didn't think you'd make it," said Max. "All that domestic bliss. How is your lovely wife?" "Okay." "And the tribe of offspring?" "Thriving." Wife doesn't mind you coming. She pushed me out of the house. Okay, so you're going to have a good time. A bachelor life again. I hated being a bachelor. So began 6 months of homesickness, ill-defined anxiety, and sleepless nights. He rarely phoned home because of the time difference, and resorted to airmail letters to Elle, enclosing postcards for the kids. What came back in reply was pretty thin. Hastily scrawled aerograms and occasional drawings from the younger ones, and letters from Paul and Megan. When Conrad came home, Elle drove to meet him at the airport. She told him Cara hadn't been very well. Headaches again. Have you had her eyes tested?
Oh, yes, Conrad.
Sorry. She had cut her thick black hair, shorter than he'd seen it before. She seemed more vivid than he remembered, her cheeks pinker, her lips redder, her breasts under her shirt voluptuously swollen. He was simultaneously attracted and repelled by her. It was astonishing that this glossy female was his wife.
So, how was it, overall?
Very strange, being away from you and the kids for that length of time. I wouldn't do it again. And you, overall? You didn't miss me?
There hasn't been a lot of time between the book and the kids and work things.
From then on, it seemed they could hardly get in step. There were repeated moments of incomprehension and distance. They had been apart too long to just pick it up again. It was the sort of irritation you might feel with a deaf person who has deliberately turned off his hearing aid. Each knew the other could understand, but just didn't seem to be trying. The trip to America opened up a fault line between them. He knew it at the time, and he knows it still. At some point he must have drifted to sleep, because next thing he knows is Alberto banging the front door and hurrying into the room. "This number was wrong," he says. "I am sorry, but the bank, they keep your card." Con has likely given him the wrong PIN. "You must ring your bank. I think they can send you new card, but it will take time." Blearily, Con tries to focus on the problem. He has no money and no way of getting any now. But he can't just lie here, helpless in a stranger's house. He switches on his mobile for the first time, which bleeps "battery low" and dies. He knows how it feels. He shakes his aching head at Alberto and mouths the word, "sorry." Alberto leaves the room and Con closes his eyes. The bank will try to contact him at home, with news of a card misused in Bologna. The game is up.
Cara is heroic in her resistance to food. Elle is struggling to remember how Con coaxed her out of her last anorexic bout, tempting morsels and begging and not having any success. It is inconceivable that Con, by going missing, could be doing this to Cara. A year ago, maybe, when he found out, but even then, despite the shockwaves that rocked them, his behaviour towards Cara never changed a jot. It was idiotic bad luck that he did find out. Maybe that's the cause of it after all. Maybe he simply had a very bad late reaction. It started innocently enough, one of Cara's altruistic impulses. She decided to become a blood donor. She said she was nervous going on her own, and Con said he would take her. And it so happened that Cara asked what type blood she had, to which the nurse replied, type A. Con, overhearing, stepped forward helpfully to say,
"That's not possible."
It was not. Con and Elle were both type B. Their children could only be B or O, never A. He got as far as opening his mouth to tell the nurse this, and then he closed it as the truth dawned.
That evening he waited till Elle was alone in the kitchen, then asked her, "Who's Cara's father?"
"She's yours. You were there when she was born. You've raised her, you've looked after her, you've loved her. She's yours."
"But I wasn't there when she was conceived."
"I'm sorry, Con. I didn't know what to do. The affair ended long before she was born, and it was never...
Does he know, the father?
Of course not. No one knows, and that's the way it should stay. She's our child, Con, yours and mine. She loves you, and I love you, and the fact of her conception was simply random.
Of course, sorry I mentioned it. Bit crass of me to notice, really.
Please, Con. I know it's a shock. I know it was wrong. I agonized about it, but there was nothing to be gained by telling you. Look how you love her now. Look how she loves you.
Who was the stud? The blonde, blue-eyed Viking daddy?
You didn't know him. It's in the past.
Have you ever been faithful to me? He went upstairs, without waiting for a reply, and slept in Paul's old room.
There was nothing she could say. After a while, Con came back to bed with Elle, and neither of them said anything about it. Like Louis. There were chasms in their marriage which they skirted without comment. For the sake of the children, for self-protection. But Con has chosen to leave now, after all these months of going through the motions.
Lying in bed in Bologna, Conrad has no real sense of time. Alberto brings him drinks and food, and sometimes switches on the light. Con is sweaty and light-headed, but his memory continues to unspool, and he can focus on that and forget all about the clammy sickbed in the blue motor racing bedroom. The saga with Maddie continued, of course. A few days after the distressing scene in the Indian restaurant, she sends him a very long and sane-sounding email. She apologises for her odd behaviour and reveals that she suffers from chronic insomnia, which sometimes reduces her to a really pathetic state. She doesn't want anything from him but forgiveness. She sends him a link. His full statement is up on the PECA website now. He wonders how many people have troubled to read it. The addition of photos would improve the page considerably, Maddie says. Could they just meet to talk about the photos again? She will come to Manchester. He doesn't need to travel anywhere. They agree to meet in the bar at her hotel, the Malmaison. Before he goes out to meet her, he deletes their entire email correspondence. It is an odd choice of venue for her, but maybe she has chosen it for its proximity to the train station. He finds himself rather excited by the thought of seeing her again, and her appearance justifies this. She has clearly made an effort. She is wearing a silky black top with a scoop neckline that reveals the swell of her breasts. It is the first time he has seen her in heels. "You look well," he says. "Are you here for work?"
Yes. Meetings, clients.
She leans forward, exposing more cleavage.
Conrad, we really need those photos.
"Maddie, I've explained."
Can I just have a look?
He passes her the envelope. She shuffles through them slowly while he orders drinks. When she's done, she puts them face down on the table.
How can you think it's all right to keep this quiet?
A deep flush has spread up from her throat. She is rising to her feet.
I've got a scanner in my room. We can blow them up on screen.
She is on the move, her wineglass held aloft, blazing away through the milling drinkers, and he is following her like a child towards the lifts. In her room, Con perches awkwardly on the bed. He has to move a discarded bra to make room. She is at the desk, copying all of the photos he took in the lab. He hasn't even agreed. He seems to be in a trance of indecision. She taps busily on the keyboard, saves the material, closes the laptop, and turns to face him.
Well, that's that.
Suddenly, she is beside him on the bed with a hand on his thigh and her face very close.
Thank you,
she says. She leans in and kisses him on the lips. Her body is glowing with heat. He responds automatically, but then leans back, taking her hands. "Maddie, listen. You don't have to thank me like this. It's not a transaction."
Isn't it?
She says. She laughs.
You didn't come with me into my hotel room because you thought you'd get a chance to screw me.
Con doesn't understand why she is speaking to him like this. "We were meeting about the pictures." She perches on the edge of the desk now, ferreting in her handbag.
You people make me sick,
she says. Conrad is sitting on her bed. "Which people?"
Scientists, husbands, middle-class wankers. Smile.
She raises her camera and takes his picture. "What are you doing?" Con stands up, blinking. She laughs in his face.
From the start, you've been stringing me along with little bits of excuses about your important job, which consists of torturing helpless animals. You tell me I'm looking well, and what you mean is sexually available. Or when you think you'll get your end away, you give me photos you should have given me 3 months ago.
Anger is beginning to burn inside him, at himself as well as this crazy bitch. Then why aren't I screwing you right now?
Maybe you just can't get it up.
He heads for the door, closing it to the sound of her sniggering. No doubt about it, she has succeeded if her aim was to undermine him and fill him with self-loathing. But beyond this, there is the larger issue of her malevolence and the power she has to do harm, which is revealed very quickly. The director of research at CBL has his home daubed in red paint with "Animal Killer, You're Next." Gus's car windscreen is smashed with a brick bearing the taped message, "Death to Vivisectionists." He goes over what she knows, about Elle and the children. She knows where he lives. What will she do to his house and car? He needs to go to the police, and he needs to tell Elle. But no one is making any connections, not even Gus. Conrad's complaints about Carrington BioLife Labs seem forgotten. The pictures she took from him have gone viral, with no reference to him. He lies awake, waiting for Maddie to strike again. Then comes an email.
Don't worry. I haven't forgotten you, wanker.
He deletes it, then moves it from the deleted folder into a storage folder he calls Mad. It is evidence. He should go to the police, but it is as much as he can do to drag himself from work to home and back again. A kind of grey mist is closing in on him. It is by pure chance that he catches a news item on the radio. It is about activists and an animal research facility. A woman and 2 men have been arrested for vandalism and threatening behaviour. Cars have been defaced, individuals have received written threats. The accused cannot be named. He knows it is her. He waits in suspension to be called as a witness, but nothing happens. Why? Is she saving him for worse punishment? On the day of the trial, the 3 are found guilty. There are no photos. It has to be her. Who else can it be? The woman gets 6 weeks in prison. Con checks his email obsessively.
What punishment is good enough for what you've done? I should rip your heart out.
He reads.
See you soon, sweetie.
Reads the next email. Not if he can help it.
Eleanor is lost. If Con was delaying coming home to teach her a lesson, this is too long. If he is with another woman, it is implausible he has not contacted the kids. If he is kidnapped, there's no ransom. This silence, extending for days, stretches her nerves and keeps her awake all night, making her heart flip every time the phone rings. Her work is going to pot. Cara is keeping nocturnal hours and not eating. Paul comes and goes. Megan is on stage at night, and Dan is Dan. Eleanor has sent an email to Louis asking him not to contact her, which he is respecting. It makes her feel all the more solitary and unreal. Her urgent, vivid life has become a painted backdrop against which she sees herself standing immobile, with no lines and no direction. How can she regain control? She cleans the house. It is distressingly filthy. It gives her the sense of accomplishing something. But she cannot bear to use the vacuum because its noise may block out the sound of a phone call. She is cleaning kitchen windows when the phone does finally ring. The police. Conrad's bank card has been used in Bologna, Italy. So, he's in Bologna. No, his bank card is. It may have been stolen. Eleanor is advised to contact the bank where it was used. She is given the number and the name of someone who speaks English. Now there's a blur of activity. Now everything shifts. The man she speaks to tells her the person who used the card was Alberto Capazzo, who has left his name and address, explaining that the card owner is at his house, too ill to use the card himself. Alberto's address is dictated to Elle and his phone number. Elle hangs up the phone and sits staring at it. Con is alive. In Italy. In a strange man's house. Relief and fear paralyze her. He's found, but he's ill. He hasn't phoned her. Too ill, or he doesn't want to, or what? What was he up to? Her impulse to phone Alberto's number dies. She paces the house, then checks flights to Bologna. There's one late this afternoon. She goes to Cara and tells her the news. She wants to call her father immediately, but Elle stops her. We don't know what's going on there. It's better just to go, not give him time to vanish. Cara shakes her head. Why would he want to vanish? Darling, it's what he's done. We don't know why. We have to assume he still doesn't want us to know where he is. She books their flight. Cara looks terrible, still not eating, but Elle knows Con will want to see his daughter, whereas he might not want to see his wife. In that sense, she is using Cara. She squashes down the bubble of hope which keeps trying to rise in her chest. There might be danger. She might be walking Cara into a trap. If Alberto is a front for kidnappers, say, and Elle and Cara deliver themselves to the door, but what is the point in kidnapping a whole family and making no ransom demands? It is 8 p.m. UK time, 9 p.m. in Bologna. Their hotel receptionist gives them a coloured tourist map of the city and draws in biro the line they should follow to Alberto's address. Not far. Elle takes Cara's arm, but Cara shakes her off, and they move singly along the murky street, their footsteps muffled by fog. The air is cold and heavy with moisture. Elle can think of nothing but danger now as she peers at numbers on the ancient doors. She's an idiot. They should have waited till morning. They are here. She knocks hard on the door and stands, shoulders squared, waiting for it to open.
When Alberto ushers them into Con's room, Cara runs to hug him. He looks up to meet Eleanor's eyes. She waits in the doorway.
I'm sorry, she says at last. But Conrad is speaking too, at the same instant.
What did you say?
I said, I'm sorry.
We're both...
Yes. Now she's able to move forward to kiss him and take in his condition. Oh, you've got flu.
Or something like it, yes. Alberto has been taking good care of me. Con reaches up awkwardly to put an arm around her shoulders. She looks around embarrassed, but Alberto is gone, and the door is closed.
We have a hotel quite near. Shall I come and fetch you in the morning?
He nods. Elle knows there is all the time in the world to talk, but she can't wait.
Were you running away from me?
Con takes a long time to answer, and she wishes she hadn't asked, especially with Cara right there. It's hard to say, no, I didn't start by running away from you.
Elle's eyes well up. What if she had lost him? I love you, she whispers.
Amazingly, Con grins at her. A ghost of the old Conrad grin. That's good, he says. I love you too.
And me? Comes Cara's muffled voice from Con's shoulder.
And you, my little Cara. He plants a kiss on her hair.
The three of them cling to one another in silence.
Paul, Megan and Dan are all at the house when Con, Elle and Cara arrive home from Bologna. Megan has organised a meal. Con's explanation of his absence, that he is fed up with his work and wanted a day or two to decide whether to quit, is plausible enough.
Did you honestly think we wouldn't worry? Asks Megan.
Well, says Con, I didn't imagine it would upset you and Julie. I mean, you've all got busy lives.
So busy we don't care what happens to our father, remarks Paul acidly.
I'm not sure I would have blamed you. I was miserable company.
It's not a crime to be miserable, says Elle softly.
Con is afraid he will cry. It is extraordinary to be home. Everything is so poignant, so precious. The next morning, before the children are up, he wakes early and tells her all about Maddie. On Sunday afternoon, he and Elle have the place to themselves after the children have departed. They go for a walk along the canal. Out here, in the cold air, it is possible to breathe. They talk about work and Louis.
She stops abruptly, pulling Con round to face her. I finished with him. I understand how crap it was. I want to be with you.
He allows a grin to break across his face. "Thank you, my lady."
"Idiot," she says, flapping at his arm with her free hand. "Idiot!"
"Yes, I am. It all got so knotted up I could never talk to you about it. The awfulness of the animal house and then Maddie. I couldn't see a way out. I thought you would despise me."
"Oh, Con."
"Well, why not? I was despicable." They walk on towards the canal, and a string of geese pass, honking overhead.
"I was impatient," she says eventually.
"You wanted me to be a success, and I wasn't."
"Look, whatever you accuse me of, you're almost certainly right. But when I didn't know where you were, or whether you'd come back, I was useless."
"Well, I imagine it was a shock."
"No. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't help Cara. I couldn't shop or cook."
"You were upset," he says uneasily. "And Elle doing nothing is unimaginable."
"Paul thought I'd murdered you."
Con decides to laugh. "Well, I think we should go home and go back to bed," he says, squeezing her cold fingers, "and see what happens."
On Monday, she has to go to work. She is about to leave when Con calls her name. He is sitting in front of her laptop, which she has lent him while they wait for the police to return his.
His email is open, and the message on the screen reads,
Welcome home. You can run, but you can't hide. Looking forward to meeting your lovely wife.
"How does she know you're back?"
Con shrugs, peering at the screen. "Sent at 6:47 this morning."
"We should call the police. Con, she could come to the house any time. She could throw a brick through the window."
"Yes."
There's a silence. Elle is suddenly aware of the car keys dangling from her fingers. "Okay, I have to go to work."
Con stands, folds his arms around her and kisses her forehead. She allows herself to slump against him and be comforted.
"Are you going to reply?"
"I shouldn't think so."
She phones him at lunchtime to check he's okay.
"I'm all right, composing my letter of resignation."
"Good."
Conrad has made a smoked salmon quiche. He expected her to be home late. She's not late. They are both glad, but neither mentions it. They linger at the table after they've finished. Making love has set a warm current running between them. Elle reads Con's letter of resignation. He's sending it to Carastra and copying it to Gus. It is measured but truthful.
"Good. Well done."
"Elle, there's something I have to tell you."
Her heart flips.
"Cara came round this afternoon. Please don't take this the wrong way. She wanted to tell you, but she didn't know how to. I'm sure she would have told both of us before now."
"Told us what?"
"She's pregnant."
"Oh, she can't have it."
"Slow down."
"Yes, that's why Cara didn't tell me," Elle thinks. She knew I'd say that. She slams into her own knee-jerk responses. "Maybe I will learn now," she tells herself, "not to think I'm always right."
Con is leaning forward, watching her. She's already 4 months along. She wants to have it.
She can't even look after herself.
That's true, but there's an argument that says if she has someone else to look after, maybe it will nudge her into being more responsible.
What did you tell her?
I said she must do what she thinks best. I said we'd give her all the help we can.
They look at each other, and Elle smiles wryly. Con grins back at her.
"So, grandparents, eh? When do you reckon to start knitting?" It is 5 years later. Conrad is looking after Cara's children, which he does 2 days a week, 4-year-old Tilly and the baby, Lucas. There has been talk for quite a while of Cara and the kids moving in with him and Elle, and he's hopeful it will happen. Less driving around for all of them, built-in babysitting and company for Cara, and the opportunity for him to exercise more control over what they all eat. Cara has ballooned and shrunk repeatedly since first getting pregnant, and at the moment she is nothing but skin and bones. He ponders the power of physical appearance to suggest personality and mood. And he thinks again of shape-shifting Maddie. In the days after they returned home from Bologna, it became apparent to him that he would need to see Maddie. She had sent 2 further emails since his return, from a Mad 2 email address. The first read,
Nice try, Houdini.
This badly unnerved him because he wasn't aware of having escaped anything. What trap had he blindly sidestepped? The second said,
I know what you're going to do before you even think of it. Don't imagine I've forgotten you.
He guessed she had found out that he had left his job. Elle still thought he should go to the police. She called Mad a stalker. One morning he emailed her, simply suggesting a meeting, stating a safe time and place. A Costa coffee shop in the centre of Manchester at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. She emailed back succinctly.
OK.
In the cafe, Conrad spotted her before she saw him. She was wearing jeans and a black T-shirt with a scuffed bomber jacket. She looked hard and lean and dangerous, the very opposite of the mousy librarian he had met at first. Every time he saw her, she seemed to adopt a different style. She pulled out the chair and slumped down opposite him. "OK," he said. "I'm here to tell you this has to stop." She laughed.
You did an ace disappearing act in Munich. Like a secret agent.
"I knew you were there."
Might have been.
"Look, Maddie, I have resigned my job. I am no longer working with animals, and I've advised CBL on how to improve conditions at the lab."
You give an inch and pretend it's a mile. You need to get the place closed down.
"That won't happen," he told her. "Animal research is vital." She suddenly leant forward over the table, her face close to his.
I went to prison because of you. Have you ever been to prison? Do you know how shit it is? They take away your clothes, put you in a stinking little cage, like they do to your animals.
Her voice was low but piercing. He forced himself to keep his tone conversational. "You're mistaken, Maddie. I had nothing to do with that."
Oh, yes, you did. You wouldn't do anything. So I was forced to take the fight to your fellow torturers.
"Who forced you?"
The only reason you are conceding anything at all is because I finally got you good and frightened.
For a moment, Con quailed. "No," he told himself. "Don't let her do this again. I'm not frightened of you because there's nothing you can do to me. I've told my wife all about you. After I left Munich, I went missing for a few days, and the police were involved in finding me. They are still expecting a full account of what happened, and if you threaten me again, I shall give them your name." Suddenly she seemed to him like an angry kid, defiant, hostile, knowing she was cornered. "You have to promise never to contact me again, not to email me or threaten me or follow me."
Or what? Mr. Plod will lock me up again?
"Yes," he said simply. There was a brief silence. "Now promise." What did she have on him? Nothing. All the power was with him. She pushed back her chair abruptly.
Oh, Mr. Wankface. Yes, sir. I promise.
She sang it out loudly enough for all the heads in the cafe to turn. And then she was gone, slamming out of the place.
And Maddie never contacted him again after that. Her name never cropped up. She disappeared from view. The whole crisis of 5 years ago seems unreal, as if it happened to someone else. Elle is still following her career, is having astonishing success with stem cells. There is no reason for her to give it up. She loves it and she thrives on it. So, of course, Con is house husband. Of course, he deals with the crises in the lives of their offspring. Of course, the novelty of his bid for escape wears off. They are living the life they have always lived together. Why should his running away for a few days have any lasting effect on that?
He sometimes wonders how they would have fared in their marriage if Elle had been the man and he the woman. He guesses it would have made it easier for him to accept his role. The sexism of that thought makes him feel guilty. By and large, they get on.
Eleanor feels a dull, nagging unease whenever she thinks about the time Con went missing. It was terrible. But once he was back, it was hard to remember the urgency of that. Each day is a mundane domestic sequence. How could anyone invest that with the heightened emotion she felt when he disappeared? She realizes she doesn't know how to be married. She can't understand how people do it, day in, day out, for years. Mostly, Elle doesn't think about the marriage because she is too busy, and busy with too many interesting things. She blocks their holiday times in her new diary every year. They can share an interest in a new place, in walking and eating different kinds of food in different settings. They get on well on holiday. But increasingly, Elle studies their fellow travellers with a jaundiced eye. Most are similar to them in age or older. They sit in companionable or hostile silence. They visit sites. They take dips in the pool. We are just the same as them, Elle thinks. And she hates the thought. And then something happens. The birth of Kara's children, for example. Or Paul getting married. Or Megan getting rave national reviews. And suddenly all her resentment is washed away, and she realizes how happy and blessed she is, and how her life is more vivid than anyone else's, more original and important. And she knows that is in no small part due to the exceptional nature of her marriage with Conrad.
Conrad and Eleanor by Jane Rogers was read by Penny Downie, Robert Glenister and Jasmine Hyde. It was abridged by Eileen Horn, produced by Clive Brill, and it was a Brill production.